In Syria, the evacuation of civilians and rebels is rapidly coming to an end. More than 37,000 people have been bussed out in the last week. The regime's army says it wants to enter the area soon. TRT World's Ediz Tiyansan is west of Aleppo city. Ediz, what's happening around you now?
Well, the evacuation continues unhindered since earlier this week, and right now too, despite these heavy winter conditions, we're told that tens of private vehicles are too now part of this evacuation plan. Some private taxis and trucks are also crossing with the upcoming convoys, and they're also preparing about 30 more buses. Now, the numbers are quite contradicting, I must say. Some sources say maybe around 5,000 civilians are still left to be evacuated from that area, but those estimates go as high as 10 to 15,000 by some accounts. And really, the difference is, the reason is because nobody really knows exactly how many civilians are still left in that enclave. We understand that some civilians at this point chose to either stay in eastern Aleppo where they are, or move to their families, relatives' places in the western regime-controlled part of the city. And those are among families that are rather apolitical. Their family members did not participate in any of the uprisings, or they're not among the rebels fighting on the ground. So they feel they might be okay at the end of the day, even if the regime takes control of that area. But we don't know how many are among those civilians. But for others, obviously, it's a completely different story. They have to flee for their lives because the regime considers any of the rebels as terrorists, and also they are hostile to their family members. So despite these conditions, they feel that they have to get out of eastern Aleppo and come over here to western Aleppo. And from here, as you know, this is a transfer point where they are then loaded onto other buses and transferred to the outer Aleppo province or Idlib province for their next locations.
Ediz, it looks bitterly cold where you are. What's the humanitarian situation like there? Are people getting enough aid, or is there enough shelter to go around?
Well, I must say, I'm wearing 4 layers plus this flak jacket, and it's still freezing cold. Honestly, I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like for those civilians. And in fact, we were talking to some of the relief workers here, among them also medical volunteers. They told us that some of the most frequent cases they encounter are actually the children and babies who have a cold or the flu. So some of them are given medicine immediately right here on the spot. And remember that most of these people haven't had access to humanitarian aid for some 6 months. They've been trapped in that enclave. And right now, as soon as they arrive, they are greeted with relief workers who hand them food portions, as well as winter clothes, gloves, and even blankets. Now, I also spoke to a lady earlier whose hands were completely dark. It looked like it was burnt. And when everybody asked her what was wrong, she said she didn't have any water for many days to even wash her hands. So just imagine what this entire journey has been like for them, because we're talking about internally displaced people. It's not as simple as taking a bus and getting out of that enclave. They tell us that some had to wait for 24 hours until a coordination is established for that convoy to set out. And they said for those 24 hours, they weren't able to go to a bathroom, they weren't able to have a meal or even sleep. So unfortunately, it is a very painstaking journey, but they must simply make it because they are fleeing for their lives. And I think what's also worse is that by the time they are here, it's not a complete relief. Unfortunately, their suffering continues. Their immediate future is still uncertain, because even though they are loaded onto buses here and taken to next locations, as I said, some of them are not sure where they will be living next. They don't have homes here. So some of them are taken to temporary homes to live with other families for the time being. But the Turkish humanitarian agencies are working day and night to set up thousands of tents for them. But until those new refugee camps are ready, unfortunately, the suffering continues for these civilians.
Indeed, and so many more yet to be evacuated. Ediz Tiyansan, many thanks for that update from West Aleppo.